Hey, what's up? Justin from Make Supply here. In today's video, we are going to make one of my favorite designs of all time, and that's what I call the laced utility satchel. And I call it laced because instead of using thread and needles, we are going to be assembling it with leather straps. This pattern is available as a free PDF download. However, with this one, there is a caveat. Normally, I chop up and format everything for a standard size printer. However, this one is going to come in one large document size. That means if you're looking to print this out on a standard size printer, you're going to have to look into poster printing, cutting it up yourself, or even outsourcing it to a large format printer. However, this file is completely unlocked, so if you do have a laser cutter and you want to cut your own template or cut this directly out of leather yourself, you can do that as well. This pattern is also available as a physical acrylic template set in our web shop. The link to the free file, the template set in our web shop, as well as all the tools and leather I use in this video is in the description below. And as 2021 is coming to a close, I'm not sure if I'm going to sneak another video in by the end of the year, so if this is my last video of the year, I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank all my longtime subscribers as well as all my new subscribers. Again, you guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. And let's get this going in 2022. But first, let's start this project. The leather I chose for this project is a 3mm thick or 7 to 8 ounce Italian vegetable tan leather. If you saw the messenger bag video I did a couple months ago, this is the same exact leather. It's just a little bit thicker and a different color. I'm a big fan of this stuff. For the pattern, I'm using the laser cut acrylic template set. While this design is not really complicated, if you're going to be printing this out on paper to use it, I highly suggest using a strong poster board backing. It just makes it that much easier to trace things accurately. During this step, I actually made a pretty critical error, which I will explain later, but the show must go on. Now that I cut out the satchel body piece, it's time to move on to the closure straps. As I mentioned a minute ago, I did make a critical error. There are 3 strap markings on this design, 1 in the middle and 2 on the outside. I originally wanted to just do this satchel with the 2 straps on the outside. However, when I was marking my holes, you can see that I marked all 3 of them on the leather. I didn't want those markings to be on my final project, so it looks like I'm making a 3-strap satchel, something I've never done before. Instead of cutting the curved edges by hand, I cut them square, and now I'm using a 3/4 inch strap end punch to round my edges. Now it's time to turn our attention to making the 2 straps for our satchel. What I'm doing here is just scratching a straight line so I can have a nice straight edge starting point for cutting my straps. I'm going to be cutting 2 1¼ inch straps. The length of your two straps isn't set in stone. However, I suggest one being around 60 inches long and the other maybe something like 24 inches long. Starting with one end of the longer strap, I'm going to put down the strap end template and trace the English point as well as mark all of the holes. Next, I'm going to the other end of that strap and I'm just going to square off that edge. And then make sure I mark a centered hole about a ½ inch in. Moving on to the shorter strap, I'm going to place the receiver template on one end and mark all of these holes. And same as the other strap, I'm going to move to the other side and mark a centered hole that is a ½ inch in. Next step, it is hole punching time. For all the rivet holes, I'm using a 2.5mm hollow hole punch. And for the strap receiver, I'm using a 1 1/4 inch oblong punch. Now, for the button stud hole, I'm using a 6mm keyhole punch. If you don't have this tool, you can still use a hollow hole punch and a sharp knife to recreate the same design. The diameter keyhole punch you need is specific to the button stud size you're using, so make sure you get the correct one. Now it's time for a marathon of slot punching. The slot punch size I'm using is 1 1/2 inch. You could probably get away with something a little bit smaller if you wanted to, since the strap is only 1 1/4 inch. However, I like to use the 1 1/2 inch because it gives it a little bit of wiggle room. For the holes on the body where I'm going to be screwing the bottom of the button stud into, I'm using a 3mm hole punch instead of a 2 1/2. It's just a little bit thicker post. Next, I'm going to be burnishing my exposed edges with Tokonol. I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently than usual, as I'm not going to be beveling first. I really like the juxtaposition of the slightly more squared edges on the body, the straps, and the closures, as opposed to the way that the body folds on itself when it's finished. Plus, this leather burnishes so well, you can't even barely tell that it's not beveled. Now with everything burnished and punched, we are ready for final assembly. First step in assembly is to screw in the button studs to the body. Second step, we're going to rivet our closures to the lid using our copper rivets. Next up, I'm going to attach the receiving end of the strap to the body. Make sure that the strap is on the inside of the body and that it is flesh side up. And same process for the other side with the longer strap. Make sure that it's flesh side up and that the strap is on the inside. Now it's time to lace up the sides. Since I chose a leather that's pretty thick and not very flexible, I'm going to pre-bend these sides just so I can have an easier time putting this together. And now the fun part, we get to lace up these sides. I'm going to prepare this by making sure that the front end of the panel wraps around the back. So the edge of the back panel should be inside of the satchel. That way it gives you a nice final look. It also helps to use a clip just to hold it at the top while you get started. The order of operations here is pretty important, so make sure that your strap is coming out of that bottom section, wrapping around the outside edge, and then going inside of the satchel into that first slot. From there, you'll just follow the lacing pattern. And it's the same process on the other side, just make sure you're following the same exact lacing pattern. Before I can complete the strap receiver end, I have to make a keeper. I didn't have a pattern piece for this made because I totally forgot about it, but there will be a pattern piece for this in the pattern pack if you decide to purchase it or download it. And to finish this off, I'm using a 1.25" solid brass buckle from Buckle Guy. And I'm all finished. This is what the final product looks like. There were no real surprises with this project. However, I was a little concerned going in using leather that was 8 ounces thick. But since this Italian veg tan is so nice, I think it just suited the project perfectly, and I don't regret it at all. Again, I wish I didn't make that little error in the beginning where I marked 3 closure straps instead of 2, but you live and you learn. At least it's an eye-catching design. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If this was at all helpful or interesting to you, I would greatly, greatly appreciate if you could just tap the like button. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you.